Good morning, everybody. Hold on one second, coming live. Hi, good morning. Hi. It's the HAL SPARKS morning show, HAL SPARKS Mornings Mega Worldwide. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Give a thumbs up. Support the show in any way you can. It's the only thing that keeps us on the air. It's the only thing that keeps us on the air. That's the only thing that we added the morning show. And if you like it, give a thumbs up at the very least. Subscribe if you want to join the increasing like the hordes. No, we won't use hordes. It's too small for a horde. It's more of a clique. Our little group has always been and always will until the end. Hello, hello. Join in. Settle in. How are you this morning? It's Friday. And I couldn't be happier to be among you. I was just, in setting up for the show this morning, kind of just opening the tabs that I normally use because we talk about the trends in the morning that are going, and kind of let that be our guide into the the swamp too big. No, what's the perfect word for the hurricane of news and information that occurs with some regularity. Because of social media. I think Richard Engel referred to it as censorship by static, that there is so much noise that you can't parse out the sounds that are valuable. And I try to not be a part of that. I try to actually be fun and charming, interesting, informative, and sort of fill in some gaps in your knowledge base where if you're just kind of following along with whatever, or even if you see the trends, and we'll look at them real quick. I'll show you what I mean. This is, of course, Operation Dynamic Island, which is the iPhone's new weird thing at the top of it. This weird, it looks like some sort of purple pill, or like their version of the HAL eye from 2001, staring at you into your soul. In a Prince-like fashion, so I don't mind. This is part of their, like the top part of the screen. I don't know, and like the info. It's just another widget to some degree. And the news that's happening, we'll go through each of these. Lauren Bacall, sure, just bringing her up. This story's been floating for a couple of days now. I don't know why they don't rotate stuff through. It's funny when I see stuff recur through, is I guess because they're really concerned that I haven't paid attention to it. It's curious. This is not surprising at all. This is about a matter of date. The abortion trigger bans that have taken effect. Elections matter. Yeah. And all these, this battle in its current form was lost years ago when people flipped a coin and were like, well, I mean, I don't like Hillary and neo-con and neo-liberal and neo from the Matrix, and it's awful. And I just don't like the sound of her voice. And are we really ready for a woman to run the place? Well, let's try a businessman. And then, of course, he just became a delivery system for the Heritage Foundation's legal picks. And then they threw women's rights under a fucking bus. Maybe, just maybe, the next time you hear someone say, I'm just not inspired to vote, whatever, you can look him in the eye and as sweetly and as compassionately as you can say, fuck you. Yeah. So there you go. And then, of course, if you don't think they want to do it nationally, they want to get rid of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. I don't mean tweak it. I don't mean raise the retirement age. I don't mean find ways to make sure that it's solvent for years so that as we age as a society, but we also become more healthful because of new medical technologies and nutrition and yada yada, that we live longer, therefore we work longer, therefore we can stay in careers, blah blah. Now I'm not talking about that. I mean gone. I'm just not inspired. I need politics to be my reason to get up in the morning. No, you fucking well don't. You ass. Wasn't Hoover a businessman who gave us the Great Depression? Yeah, that's actually one of the arguments. But Hooverville's, I mean, I don't know why the explosion in homelessness isn't somehow laid at Trump's feet, since it happened largely during his watch. And everybody's like, well, it happens mostly in California and stuff. That's because people survive there. States without winter have bigger homeless issues because they don't freeze to death. And states with moderate temperatures that are nice, like LA and San Diego and San Francisco to some degree, although coldest winter I ever spent was the summer I spent in San Francisco, and Seattle, places like that, Portland even. The reason why their homelessness is up is moderating. You can survive there even at its worst weather, whereas Arizona, you might die of heat stroke, that kind of thing. So they tend to, accidentally, they don't talk about the death of homeless people in those states, in those areas. They just kind of act as, well, we don't have a problem. Yeah, you have ask your coroner. So anyways, this argument, this story, we're in the middle of this situation. This is not shocking. This is, anybody who was paying attention in 2015 and 2016 and listened to Trump tell Chris Matthews that there's got to be some kind of punishment for the woman knew this was coming. And anybody who told you that it was two legs in the same pair of pants and we really don't have two parties in this country and there's really no difference between the two was selling this. This is what they were wanting. This is what they got. This is, anybody who told you there's no difference between the parties wanted this to happen. I don't mean that they were just underestimating that. No. If they told you that voting for Democrats is no vote different than voting for Republicans, anybody who sold you that bill of goods, TYT, I'm looking at you, was not naive or underestimating the threat of Donald Trump, because it wasn't even in terms of women's rights, it wasn't even a question. He said it in an interview before he was elected that there has to be a punishment for women who get an abortion. Like, piss off with this nonsense. This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what they want. This is what you get. This is what they want. This is what you get. This is what TYT brings you. This is what the Young Turks and all those folks who are like, there's no difference and Democrats are bastards. They're bastard people. Like, shut the fuck up. This is what happens when you talk like that. And if you can either be dumb or awful. Pick one. Because the idea that you were innocently underestimated this is just ridiculous. He fucking said it. So, sorry, but you're like, all you like, I don't know, but inspired. And you fuckers, you're going to have to vote for Democrats hardcore for like 6 cycles to undo the damage that you participated in making happen. So there. Other than that, I have no opinion. Ken Burns. Let's see, a controversy pitting Ken Burns against his peers. Battle over who has the right to tell which stories is intensified in the wake of racial reckoning and is pitting, well, why is he doing a documentary on... Fonda was hard at work on a 4-part docuseries about Muhammad Ali to debut in 2021, and the news was greeted with much anticipation. One of the film's greatest. The only hint of criticism came from someone who thought Ali's life was already well-trod territory. 4 years later, in the wake of racial reckoning in America that had the film industry, like so many others, reevaluating its commitment to diversity, the docu community had become considerably less welcome to the project, with a public chatter about a lack of representation opportunity for people of color reaching a peak. A coalition of 140 documentary filmmakers sent an open letter to PBS slamming the choice of Burns to helm what was positioned to be the definitive doc on Muhammad Ali. They decided they were going to do one and then they hired him to do it, or was he in the process of making one? I mean, fucking Ken Burns' entire contribution to the world of documentaries has been pans and zooms on still photographs. I'm sorry, I'm not a Ken Burns stan. And yeah, new 6 hours. Yeah, a lot of his stuff is like soft anti-America propaganda. like disguised as a Norman Rockwell painting, which is how you would do it. The Civil War doc is there to remind you that the Civil War happened, but not why it was fought and who won. It was just to remind you that, at the time, half of the country fought for slavery, as if the rest of the country still does. So, it's whatever. I'm not a fan. And the Holocaust one, U.S.'s role in the Holocaust is about how long it took to wait to join World War II, and relatively well-trod territory, not something anybody would or wants to repeat except on the right, I suppose. And maybe that's, kind of a reminder about how we feel about people fleeing war zones when they ultimately come here in the asylum. And it's probably the reason that kicked this part of it off was asylum seekers during the Trump years, because you got to look at most projects in the time that they take. It's a few years. So especially a project of this size, you're going to, the impetus to do it kicks in probably year one of Trump, right? To deal with his reaction to asylum seekers and the like, and kind of make people reflect on it. And by the time it comes out, we've elected somebody else. And maybe if, the idea is being that if Trump had been reelected, this would be a documentary that, hopefully would push people towards recognizing that there's a parallel between these behaviors. But he's preaching to the choir at best. So, anyways, it's fine. I don't grind my teeth about Ken Burns ever, but whoops, hold on. Morning Joe is fairly good at getting their hashtag going. I will say they are hashtag HSMW, I guess. I don't know. Hashtag HAL SPARKS Mega Worldwide. But they, this whole Morning Joe thing. As a lawyer, former secretary, unqualified president, misogyny, so really, yeah. Let's see, federal budget deficit. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I really do. All-time winner forever. Told you so. Yes, I will admit that Hillary Clinton is the queen of I told you so. I don't mind being the prince of I told you so. And I voted for her, so conscience is clear in that regard. Trump is. I love how they're showing this church picture of him. Like this was a regular endeavor for them. Trump has been sent an invitation at the Queen's Memorial Service at Washington National Cathedral next Wednesday. Will he show up? Yeah, the question is, will Trump stand in in with, Bush and Obama and other people and just risk the embarrassment of them going, hey, Don? Anyways, under scrutiny. Okay, former FBI official involved in, this is let's see, a federal grand jury subpoenaed records of any payments or gifts that Charles McConaughey, the FBI's former head of counterintelligence in New York, received from foreign governments. McConaughey was involved in the investigation into the Trump campaign's contacts with Russia during the 2016 thing. Former high-level FBI agent involved in the investigation. This is military defense insider. Exclusive from Business Insider. There's a lot of insider.com. All right. Former high-level FBI agent who was involved in the investigation into the Trump campaign's contacts with Russia during the 2016 election has himself come under scrutiny by federal prosecutors for his ties with Russia and other foreign governments. Late last year, according to internal court documents obtained by the Insider, U.S. attorneys secretly convened a grand jury that examined the conduct of Charles McGonigal, the former head of counterintelligence, the FBI field office in NYC. The Justice Department declined to comment on whether the grand jury was investigating or whether it remained ongoing, but a witness subpoena obtained by the Insider seemed to indicate that the government, in part, was looking into McGonigal's business dealings with the top aide, Oleg Deripaska, the billionaire Russian oligarch who was at the center of the allegations that Russia colluded with Trump. The subpoena issued in November requests records relating to McGonigal and a shadowy consulting firm called Spectrum Risk Solutions. A week after the subpoena was issued, a Soviet-born immigrant named Sergei Shestakov, in a separate filing that McGonigal had helped him facilitate an introduction between Spectrum and Deripaska's aide. The filing also states that McGonigal helped introduce the aide to Cobra and Kim, a New York, how is that not a show? A New York law firm that specializes in representing clients who are now being investigated on suspicion of fraud and misconduct. Chestakov, which if you, Vicks Vapo Rub will help you with that, I'm just saying, has been, Vicks Vapo Rubsky, has been identified on TV panels as a former Soviet foreign ministry official and former chief of staff of the Soviet ambassador to the United Nations, probably receiving $33,000 for the referrals. While it wouldn't necessarily have been illegal for McGonigal to work on behalf of Deripaska, failing to disclose activities covered by the Foreign Agents Registration Act, such as lobbying and public relations, is punishable by a $250,000 fine and 5 years in prison. Deripaska was sanctioned. If McGonigal is mixed up in any way, shape, or form with Deripaska, that strikes me as unseemly, to put it politely, says Tim Weiner, the author of Enemies, A History of the FBI. That's the records, documents, and materials, grand jury subpoena. Let's see, they didn't respond to comment. It's not clear whether McGonigal is a target of the grand jury investigation or simply a subject whose activities are somehow related to it. All right, well, here we go, kids. This is it. This is the yeah, but... Fuck. Yeah, how far do you have to go down the fucking rabbit hole on these stories before you get to the yeah, but? And there is nothing in the court documents or elsewhere to suggest that McGonigal behaved inappropriately during the FBI's investigation of the Trump campaign. But the materials requested in the witness subpoena raised questions about whether the top FBI agent may have been tapping the connections he made during his years of public service for private gain, an all too common practice among Washington insiders and whatever McGonigal's activities. The fact that he's been swept up in a grand jury investigation is highly unusual. According to a former senior official in the Justice Department who asked not to be identified, probably with Durham, just saying, on the Durham team, I'm going with Durham team. Couldn't manage to charge him on their own, so that's whatever. I think. Never considered charges against someone so high up in the FBI. It's very rare that former FBI people at all, and certainly former senior FBI people, wind up as grand jury targets. Again, it's not. You don't even know he's a target yet. Stupid. Okay, but this will be all over. You watch. This will be on. Glenn Beck's show. It'll be on Bong Holio's show for 3 weeks, and then it'll go away. Liberal hypocrisy. It's because of the busing people to Martha's Vineyard, that kind of stuff, the NIMBY aspect of this. Well, the idea being is that we give a lot of money to border states to deal with the folks that are coming there, and then they bust them elsewhere where there's not those services or those availabilities. Meanwhile, the people in those areas are reacting to the people showing up and helping them. Largely, like we literally, the federal government gives border states funds specifically to deal with people coming across the border and the process of getting them through. The idea is, though, is that they don't want to go through that process. They're just dumping them instead of processing with, like the Biden administration was flying people, like children specifically, and mothers with children, to Catholic charities in New York, people that are sponsoring them. They go through a process and they do this. Whereas the Texas, Arizona, and some of the other states are just putting people in buses and sending them randomly, as you know, and dropping them off without any support structure. So yeah, I wouldn't call it a. If you want to, by the way, if you want to start sending funds used to support immigration to those states in those areas instead of Texas and New Mexico and then of course like the water system in Mississippi, if they want to use those things as sort of block grants and pilfer them instead of using them, federal funds for what they're supposed to be for, then they can do without them, I guess. Right? How have you touched on the Brett Favre shenanigans? I have not, because it's mostly because of the cycle. Well, yeah, that's a good thing. Remind me of that in a moment if I haven't covered it already. Let's go to Lauren Bacall. Just like Bogey and Bacall, apparently nothing's coming up. Okay. Chrissy Teigen. I don't know what this is going to be, a celebrity thing. Chrissy Teigen reveals she had an abortion to save my life. She previously said she had a miscarriage. It had taken me over a year to understand that I had actually had an abortion. Had a life-saving abortion. The people who call themselves pro-life are shaming her for it, shaming her for literally saving her life. Oh, because she had her pregnancy went south and would have killed her. So she had a medical abortion. Abortion to save my life for a baby that had absolutely no chance. And to be honest, I never even put it together until actually a few months ago. Yeah, technically I understand where they're, where the way she's phrasing it made sense. Like it was not, it was if I don't imagine that women prepare themselves for the possibility of miscarriage as a point in life, although it is possible. I don't think it's something they think about while they're in the middle of a pregnancy. And it's something they fear, I would guess. But the idea being is that if you found yourself in a situation where you are carrying, a fetus that will not survive outside the womb, that is toxic and that is going to kill you, and then you have to have a medical abortion to save your life. There's a thin line between that and a miscarriage. The only difference is that in the old days, you would have just died from it. That would have been the old Martha died in childbirth story, right? That's what women used to do before the kind of treatment that she had. Look at the number of stories. Mother died in childbirth. Mother died in childbirth. Mother died in childbirth. That's more, in some cases it was actually during the birth. Most people think of it as it happened during the pregnancy itself. Or during the birth itself, rather, at the actual moment of labor, or because, the past fucking sucked and everything was septic. But a lot of times it was during the pregnancy. And so Chrissy Teigen would have just died while she was in the family way a century ago. That's why there's so many stepmothers in fairy tales. Absolutely. Marjorie Nazi Green. Oh, this is yeah. So somebody brought this up yesterday as we were going out, and this is the angle that we saw, and it wasn't abundantly clear at that point that she kicked somebody from that point of view, because it was kind of kept relatively high up. But there was another angle of it. Let's see if we get to her.
You're the guy that said that the interview. You're the one that believes that.
Yeah, see her kicking her right there? And she's laughing at it because she's like, what the fuck is this woman doing? Because she's slowing down and talking to her, but she actively, look at this shit right here. Look right here. Watch. Like get out of the way. Get out of the way. Like, just an awful person. And by the way, Democrats are the Karens. Is that what we're doing? Is that how it's like? Is that the story we're telling? Yeah, it's intentional. She did it on purpose. I mean, and again, if someone is if the accusation is that she was talking to this person and walking too slow and what you do in that situation is you stop, let them walk a little bit ahead, and then she's got this dude with her, loop around behind him and go, this is what they do. Like, there are so many opportunities for you to make your point. Even, it bugs me, you guys know, it bugs me when people can't even lie well. Can you, HB 3653 from Illinois, yes. Let's see. Amends the going to 45 schedule discharge of a person committed to custody corrections department shall give the person one information about voter registration, may distribute information information about registering to vote upon discharge from if they are okay. Yeah, it's good. It just has to do with letting people know when they can vote after they have been discharged, if they can. If you're on probation and you still have to, you're being let out early from prison, but you still have time on your sentence that you're being allowed to go back out in public because you've been a model prisoner and you haven't been violent or something like that, and you got 5 years, but you did 2.5, and you're doing the rest outside. You can't vote until your full sentence is served. Then they let you know, so that, again, think of it as sort of pre-Mirandizing against people, committing voter fraud, but also just letting them know when they can. Ain't nothing wrong with it. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Again, every time they try to put a rule in place to make voting tougher, it still doesn't eliminate the right and the ability to vote. They just try to put, roadblocks in your way, and Democrats will help you find your way around it so that you can actually vote legally. And the reality is Democrats are used to this shit. Democrats are used to Republicans trying to eliminate the right to vote for people. They're used to them trying to limit the vote for years. This is well-covered territory. But Republicans aren't. Republicans are not good at telling, Georgia rednecks how to vote once the rules change. By the way, if you're watching, welcome. Hi, it's the morning show. I'm Hal Sparks. This is Hal Sparks Mornings Mega Worldwide. I have an afternoon show 5 days a week, and then a radio show tomorrow on Saturdays, 9 to 11 Pacific time. And tomorrow in the second hour, Philip Ittner will be joining us, our friend who was our kind of man about town, man about country in Ukraine for a bit. He's going back, I think, at the end of the month. He's in LA for a short period, trying to get together a situation where he can broadcast more fully from there, which is great. He's going to join us for the second hour tomorrow. And then the afternoon show, I break down the lies and misrepresentations of the silliest members of the right, because ultimately their talking points are the ones that trickle up into the mainstream. So if you like what I do, like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm trying to get better at doing that stuff. It's a goal. Because I don't know if you guys know this. So my birthday is coming up in a couple weeks. It's a week from Sunday. And I will be 53. And I do, and this might, some of you know this, but some of you might be finding this out for the first time. I do my New Year's resolutions on my birthday. So the day before my birthday, which is, will be that Saturday when I've got my radio show and Sexy Liberal. So I'm going to be very busy. But I do a goal-setting workshop the day before my birthday for about an hour for what I want to accomplish over the next year. And the weeks before have become a time when I've sort of refining what I want to do and set those quarterly goals for the upcoming year. And because a lot of the last 2 years has been reactionary to the circumstance, I want to be more proactive in what I'm trying to do in the next year. That's one of my focuses. But I believe it's better to do your New Year's resolutions on your actual birthday because it's your new year. And unless your birthday is January 1st, it also saves you from that, I'm going to get fit So you show up at the gym the same 2 weeks everybody else makes the same decision in January. As a matter of fact, if you do it early enough or your birthday's far enough from that, you can go, well, the first part of my plan is the first 2 weeks of January, I'm going to find some other way to work out. Stop cursing. No. Fuck that. So anyways, I that's coming up for me. So I do that every year, and I recommend it for the record. Okay, now back to where we were. This is, okay, Governor of Texas, because he's dropping people, he's sending people on buses. Other people went through 10 different countries until we got to Texas. There are refugee associates put us on a plane and told us there would be working housing here. I feel good despite everything. We spent 4 days in Texas, so it's good to be here. Oh, this is in Martha's Vineyard, where they're sending them up there. Okay. Beto O'Rourke on Abbott and DeSantis busing migrants. This tweet from the governor Texas admits he's a human trafficker. This morning, 2 Texas buses of migrants arrived in the Naval Observatory in D.C. VP Harris claims our border is secure and denies the crisis. We're sending migrants to our backyard to call on Biden administration to do his job and secure the border. First of all, the border is sort of a secure entity, like we're going to have armed guards on it, like the wall in Israel, is absurd. So the idea that they want to, like, whenever Trump talks about borders in third world countries aren't as bad, they would do something about this. That's because they shoot people, and that's the quiet part that they don't kind of mention. The other thing is that we as a country have a functioning system for dealing with migrants that come across the border and have either sponsorship or like a charity that takes them on, or a family member, or the like, randomly putting them on buses with bus tickets and just dropping them off, which, by the way, is the same thing. I don't know why this is a fucking surprise. This is the same thing that that Texas does with their homeless too. They've been doing this for decades. They put homeless people on trains and send them to other states. They're homeless people. They're people who fall through the cracks. They're people who would use the federal funds and state funds that are allocated for Medicare, Medicaid housing, those kind of things. All the, VA housing or whatever. They put them on buses and trains and send them elsewhere. They take their, that's why Trump is like, they're emptying out their prisons and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Abbott and those guys are part of a long Texas tradition of putting their crooks on a bus and going, go to California, they'll take you out there. It's, I mean, the 60s were full of that. Like, there's a reason why one of the nicknames of one of the Manson family members was Tex. You think a guy who talks like this about Charlie is from fucking San Diego? You think he grew up in Laguna Beach, for fuck's sake? This is not new. They're just doing it with migrants instead of homeless now. They do it with their mental patients. They do it with, they're homeless in Texas. They outsource and they still fuck up. Even with that, even with dumping their social safety net issues on other states, they still have a power grid and rent problem. The irony. Like I said, this is nothing new. And again, it matters. And this will turn the state purple too over time. This is not the winning move they think it is. It's gross. Kuma. All right. This is, I see. All right. This is just video game reference. Okay. Street Fighter. Cool. Nice. All right. Something, I got to show you this story. Huge fire rips through China Telecom office building. This is just today. Look at this shit. I saw this on a Ukraine war Telegram channel earlier today. Hold on. I want to show, like, here you go. Look at this. Look at this fucking building. Let's pause this 1 second. Sorry. You guys see how they shrink it down a little bit. Hold on. They were storing 35 tons of fuel there in this tower. It's a Chinese telecom building. Let me see if I can find the it's in Changsha. Yeah, Changsha, capital of the southern Hunan province. Yeah. So this is, imagine that one of the tallest skyscrapers in an American capital being on like this far ablaze. Hold on one second. Control copy and the pasting of the thingy. This is nuts. I'm gonna see if I can find footage of it so I can show you guys. This is just happening this morning. Hold on. Control minus. There we go. Just shrink this down. Here you go. Look at this. Look at that thing. Like the whole fucking thing. I mean, this is straight up. Massive fires engulfed a high-rise office building in Changsha, capital of China's southern province of Hunan. State media said the fire has been put out. No, it has not. Just for the record, bullshit. There is no way that fire has been put out. The fire engulfed the 200-meter office tower, which, according to journalists, stored 35 tons of fuel for servers. Look at the flaming chunks of this shit coming off of here. There and again, the word from the Chinese authorities will be that a half a dozen people were singed. So here you go. Fire at the China Telecom. This is 6 hours ago. Blaze erupting over several floors. This is how it started right here. These folks, this started in a matter of fucking hell. How long did this go? Look at that. Boink. Matter of, let's see, large fire at high-rise China Telecom office building in downtown Changsha with blaze erupting on several floors within the skyscraper. These people are clearing out and filming themselves. I hope people got free of this, but there is just no way this fire is out. Like, that's just absurd. Look at that. Would you, I mean, okay, that's the front part of it. And then it still burns around the outside of it too. Whole thing. The entire building. Good Lord. So it's just frightening. It's terrifying how, like, this is, by the way, this is what deregulation gives you. As ironic as it is, and as much as people decry central planning as, how the Chinese government works, and the idea that, one party rule and they control everything, and the bad things that come from central planning. Central planning is always a myth. It will never work. It's why communism doesn't work. It's why socialism at its, Marxist roots never works, is because you can't centrally plan the complex lives of human beings. You need checks and balances to make sure that no one group of people can choose what to do and what to ignore. It's why democracy is always better. Always. Because the great thing about in this country, no matter what the fucking right is telling you right now, is that we have a diversification of power in the United States. We have the House, we have the Senate, we have the presidency, and we have the SCOTUS, and we have circuit courts, and we have individual courts, and everybody has the right to redress of grievances and that kind of stuff. That power is crucial. And when you don't have it, over a period of time, certain people will just sort of prioritize what they want to prioritize and fuck everything else. And the zoning and the environmental concerns and the safety standards and the quality of construction in China, like we'll have like apartment fires in the United States and, you know, like small old apartment buildings that have been around for a long time that have, you know, that catch fire and people get killed in them. And the response that we have in the United States is natural. We get angry. We want better standards. We pass laws. We create rules about where you can store certain chemicals and all that kind of stuff. And honest to God, and you guys know, I spent months upon months upon months in China while I was over there. And I love the Chinese people individually, and I have a lot of friends, especially in Taiwan and in Shanghai and Beijing and all over the place. But I'm here to tell you, like on a administrative, governmental level and internally, this is what the Ron Pauls and the Ted Cruzes of the world are calling for. Ironically enough, this is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you want. This is what you get. They are like the deregging and just shrugging off zoning, environmental concerns, and all that kind of stuff, and storage rules. And there's all these rules about you have to have it within 16 feet of a doorway. Well, that's because somebody's fucking measured how far the flame leaps from certain containers of certain chemicals, and you have this much room to go up against the wall to get the fuck out of there if something goes south. And it seems silly at the time, but it's based on study. It matters. No society is going to be able to dodge all actions. There's too many moving parts in human society to avoid these kind of things entirely. However, there's a shit ton of them in China all the fucking time. And it happens because they look the other way all the time. They're like, it doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't fucking matter. And the Darwinism that is, cropped up since the adoption of a Soviet-style governing system, it has contributed to this. It's terrifying and heartbreaking, and I feel bad for these people. They must be scared shitless. And this isn't, again, this isn't a, like a fuel depot. This is a telecom building, which on its face, too, considering the other shit going on, as far as China messaging going into the national conference is coming up where Xi Jinping is going to have another term. This reeks of a Russian oligarch being pushed out a fucking window, too. Because it's a telecom building and because they have draconian control over messaging. Do I think it's that? I hope not. Would it surprise me if it turned out to be? Absolutely not. Look at that. Jesus. I just hope that there were, that the stairwells on the other side of the building were cleared. Fucking hell. So anyways, that's just this morning. This stuff, where are we going? State media said the fire was extinguished. Reuters report the Hunan Fire Department said no casualties had been found. At a preliminary investigation suggested the outer wall of the 42nd story of the tower had caught fire. Really? One video shared on Twitter purported to show early stages of the blaze, showed people inside the building running for the exits. In a statement released on social media, China Telecom said, by around 4:30 p.m., the fire at our number 2 communications tower in Changsha has been extinguished. No casualties have been discovered, and communications have not been cut off. The largest telecom operator in China is on fire. That's it, right there. Yeah, sorry. With that kind of pluming of smoke, unless they, unless they cleared people out when it was still here. Oof. Just gnarly. Last disaster I remember was the 2015 East Village gas explosion in Manhattan that destroyed 3 buildings when someone had illegally tapped into the 1.5 inch gas line. Right. Which, again, what happens after that? You see all these, call before you dig. It doesn't matter where you think you're going to. If you're pretty sure there isn't a line there, check first. Like, that's why we have that rule. That's why you're not allowed to just pickaxe in your yard without calling someone first, because you might not be aware of the sewage pipe or the gas line or whatever that runs under your property because of the last developer that was there. The stairwells are going to be installed in 2 weeks, right? So yeah, that's an enormous thing. Let's see. Oh yeah. So this is there's a couple of things we'll look into too. Crude oil's up $1, and still it's at, whoops, hold on, I gotta move this down. $86. The Biden announced that he's going to buy oil for the strategic reserve when crude oil goes below $80. And so it punched up for a few days above that. And then people are going to have puts on it. Hey, look at that, already down 85.53. Because there's no stabilizing. This price isn't warranted by anything. It's artificial. And then, Germany seized Russian refinery companies today. The ones that operate, the Rosneft groups that operate inside of Russia, operate inside of Germany. Berlin is taking over Russian oil major Rosneft's PJSC German oil refineries, part of a broader move to seize control of swaths of the country as it tries to secure energy supplies. So they've got to be able to, I'm going to shrink this down, sorry. They have to, these refineries, which were, largely built with German subsidy anyways, because of the sanctions on Russia couldn't operate as separate entities anyways. So they've just decided to seize them, just take them. In parallel, the government's working on a plan to take over Uniper SE and 2 other gas importers as a series of government rescue measures are being dwarfed by the scale of the crisis. There was no immediate reaction from Moscow on Friday, which is already squeezing gas supplies in Europe, crippling the economy in retaliation for the continent's support of Ukraine. Yeah, they're doing it on purpose. So again, this is a retaliatory measure. It's not surprising. This is the energy wars. It's better than the water wars, and eventually it's something you can handle by moving to renewables. Look. For fuck's sake, one of the issues with all climate change aspects aside, even if you don't believe in a 2 centigrade rise in temperature over the next 10 to 15 to 20 years or by 2050 or what have you, about even all of that aside, one, anybody can understand pollution. Oil and gas, coal, they stank up the air and fill it with all kinds of garbage that's unsafe for people downwind from it. So no modern country wants or needs a fossil fuel burning plant within 50 miles of fucking any of their citizens. And so the smaller European countries are even going to have less of a reason to have those, much less the United States and, putting these kind of refineries out in rural areas. The idea is that, by the end of the century, any, combustion-related refineries or factories are going to be in the middle of places where nobody wants to live, like the Salton Sea and fucking middle of Arizona and shit like that. But we're going to move past that to thorium reactors and hopefully fusion at some point. But that's another thing. But even if you don't believe in the climate change aspect of it, even if you can live with the London fog stank of coal plants puking dust and carcinogens all over your citizens, even if you don't give a rat fuck about that, the geopolitical security reasons for working on renewables and having Your energy sources come from places that are within your country and don't have to be dug up, that never run out. That at no point can anybody do an OPEC or a Russian type strangle on the energy you need for your country makes sense. It simply does. And moving commuter cars, most of which never go more than 9,000 miles over the course of a year, and always take the same roads, and very seldom are even taken on long car trips anymore, making most of those electric to lower the need for gasoline in your country is a smart geopolitical strategic move for the safety and security of your own citizens. It's a NatSec decision. Even if you don't give a fuck about climate change. Like, again, the pushback on Republicans who are, anti-climate change, don't believe in it or don't think it's a crisis or whatever, isn't that they should, because they're not going to. But they might understand the baseline pollution argument and the NatSec part of it. It dirties up the rivers and streams and the air. It gives Americans and whatever your country you're in, it gives them cancers and lung diseases and all kinds of shit like that. And relying on a country like Russia or the Middle East or Venezuela, who they love to, vilify right now too, is a waste of fucking resources. And if we have a certain amount of it in our country that we can produce, then conserving how much of that we use for things we don't need to use it for makes sense too. Because if you never want to rely on outside sources, you want a certain amount of demand destruction. You want to stop using oil and gas anywhere you don't need to use oil and gas. That's just smart. Just the toxins, et cetera, the gas-driven vehicles give off is enough to make people sick and cause all kinds of illnesses, including cancer. Exactly, Stargal. So the point of wanting to sit in traffic while people are trying to go work and adding that medical cost to midlife and end of life, it's an absurdity. Especially if you're like America first. Well, if you want America first, then get us off of fossil fuels early on a consumer level, so that if you've got power plant or refineries or even factories that have to run on immense levels of carbon-based fuels because there isn't a replacement for them. Windmills and solar panels will power houses in a way that they will not power those kind of factories. Then limit the use of it for those things. Save it for that stuff. Minimize its use for what you really fucking need it for. So there you go. Germany tightens control over industry with Russia. Other than that, I have no opinion. You're watching HAL Sparks Mornings Mega Worldwide. Hi. Like and subscribe. Give a thumbs up. Support the show. All right. Poland considers stake in seized oil refinery. This is going to be all over Europe. Because they built these with the Russian companies, and the Russian companies have been sapping money from them anyways. They no longer own them. Gas prices drop 12% as traders take EU measures seriously. That's good. All right. European gas closes at a 7-week low. Look at that. See, that's what's going to make the difference over here, right here. That's what's going to change the price in the United States and continue to ratchet it down. Because the price in Europe has been the reason that it's been kept high, because oil companies in the United States that make gas and refine it are selling it to the highest paying market because it's a product. And as long as there are higher priced markets over here, getting it will be some sort of price negotiation, and that negotiation will be towards the high side, not towards the low side, because it's a supply issue. Your gas price posts a third weekly decline, contracting 9.3%. The benchmark contract of the Dutch hub settled at 187 euros a megawatt hour, lowest since July 25. Okay, good. Poland wastes stake and seized refinery. Yeah, they're going to do this. Get used to that idea. There was so here we go. 85.52. It's going to hover around there. It'll go down. and they'll use the idea that, you know, the Fed's tightening monetary funds and therefore the dollar's too strong to drive it down like they want. So Russia could find new markets for half the oil shunned by the EU. Okay, think about this for a second. Do the math on this shit. What's going to do with the other half? Huh? What's it going to do with the other half? So already at the beginning of this bullshit, Russia's war on against Ukraine, they were already, you know, let's say they were supplying 40% of their oil to China and India, other markets. And the rest of it, 60% of it was to the rest of the world. And now they can only get 50% of the rest of that oil someplace. And by the way, Russia could find new markets for half of the oil shunned by the EU. Yeah, how are they going to get it there? They're going to get it there on boats that take fucking forever to go to places because they're not selling to their neighbor anymore. Let's see where the yeah but is in this article. You want to see it? Okay. Russia could find new markets for about half, okay, of the crude exports that will be banned by the European Union from December, according to energy data firm Kepler. Okay. Kepler. Let's go with that. Indonesia, Pakistan, Brazil, South Africa, Sri Lanka, and some countries in the Middle East could together buy as much as 1 million barrels a day of crude. Could together. Now, Russia coming in the winter. So you got 2 million barrels that they're going to lose selling to Europe, which is right there. It's right there. You own a bakery. You bake oil cakes. That's what you make. It's gross, but everybody has to eat it. Nobody wants to eat it, but they have to eat it. And for the last 30 years, you've been growing like crazy because you have been selling oil cakes to your neighbor right next door. Now your neighbor, because you shot your other neighbor, is saying, fuck you, I'm not buying cakes from you anymore. Even though I have to get them for a while, I'm weaning myself off your fucking oil cakes. And so you're like, okay, I have to find someplace else to sell my oil cakes. And I have to drive 100 miles to that one. I have to drive 300 miles to that one. I have to drive 85 miles through an area where people will shoot at me to get to sell them there. And then I have to drive another 200 miles to sell those. And I can only sell half of as many oil cakes to those people as I used to sell to my neighbor. Does that sound like a business model to you? Here's a great chart. Look at this. This is January. Here's February, because they knew this shit was coming. Like, we're going to have to start storing up. So they bought a bunch. Ding, 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 ding. August. This isn't going to stop. This direction. This is the EU. This is what they sell to. Look at this. Right here. Let me move this over here so you can see it. See that? So at the beginning of the war, they were like, oh shit, we got to buy a bunch of stuff because this is going to be bad. And they start storing. And this is mostly Germany at this point. Like Germany is the one that's keeping it up above the pink here. Above China. Meanwhile, China's supposed to make up for the loss, right? Is that what you see in this chart? Do you see China? You see a pickup in June, and then it goes right back to fucking normal. That looks like a spike. The spike on the Chinese one right there in June. That looks like a spike based on, oh shit, this is not going the way we thought it was going to go, or Russia thought it was going to go in Ukraine. We better stock up a little. That is not an indicator of an up arc through this. As a matter of fact, it went down below the previous May And it looks like below the previous April number, like it's almost even, but below it. And then August is still below April. This is all within the margin of error in how much you're getting. This is not an example of China making up for these losses. Now let's look at the other numbers here. I love this. Hold on. So India is the yellow one. That's the one that's grown the most. So this is India. So there you go. India almost nothing in January, and then a slow growth here in July. Slight tick back in August. That's interesting. That's fucking interesting, man. And then the OECD marginal. Look at this. Look at the Asia one. Look at that. The green, and then almost non-existent July. Look at that. That's it. That's the OECD Asia block in July. April, there was a spike, sort of. Compared to July, there sure as shit was. June, July, August. I mean, again, these are blips. But look at other/unknown. This could be them lying and dumping the blue other and unknown. I don't know where this fucking oil is supposedly going. Somebody's buying it. I'm going to go with North Korea, and it's not actually moving. They're lying. I think like the Gazprom guys who've been murdered recently, who hacked up their families and hung themselves. Those guys are probably the ones going, we're not selling this shit. We're dumping it in the ocean to pretend we are. Pop. They're trading oil for arms. Possibly. I mean, that could be the other unknown, you mean? Maybe. I mean, it certainly could be a fund because nobody's, the idea that remember the whole paying in rubles thing, and the ruble is incredibly strong right now? Garbage. Silliness. Fuck off with that nonsense. Russia's oil industry, which accounts for roughly 10% of the global production and is a key source of revenue for the Kremlin, already faces significant sanctions after its invasion of Ukraine. EU members are still buying some of the country's oil, but in December will ban most imports of Urals crude, followed by a prohibition on oil products in February. That could slash Russia's oil output by nearly 2 million barrels a day compared with the pre-invasion levels, unless the flows are distributed elsewhere, the International Energy Agency estimates. Russian companies have already been redirecting their cargoes to Asia, mainly to India and China, as some European buyers voluntarily shun their oil. This has come at a cost, with Urals trading at deep discounts to global benchmarks. That's the other part. The Russian oil, they're competing with other black market oil sources. They're competing with Iran. And Iran needs the money way more. They don't have a war to fight. All their stuff, all their damage is cheap. Their state sponsoring of terrorism stuff, yeah, on a 1-to-1, that didn't cost you shit. And it's not like they take care of their people, sadly enough. It's not like they have a giant Iranian safety net for the Iranian people. So they don't need the money as bad as Russia does. So they can fuck around. They've been doing this for a lot longer too. So they can fuck around with that price. Kepler was founded in 2014 and is based in London, England. Perhaps it should tell the government this. Oh, I see. Yes. A redistribution of global crude flows could partially displace exports from the other OPEC Plus members in Indonesia. One of the prime candidates to be supplanted is Nigeria. While in Pakistan, we would not be surprised to see lower Arab light flows from Saudi Arabia, Kepler said. The Middle East, which could take as much as 500,000 barrels a day of... That's so ironic. I mean, think about this for a second. The Middle East, which could take as much as 500,000 barrels per day of Russian crude this winter, could redirect oil previously used domestically to export markets. So the Saudis are going to buy cheap Russian oil to run their system and then sell their more expensive oil on the market, basically selling their domestic supply, which is hilarious. Especially considering, like, the Saudis, for example, are running out of oil. The temptation might be to feed Urals into refineries and let the likes of the Arab light flow freely in Asia. Right, there you go. That's what they would do. Use it for themselves. Don't play Russian roulette with oil in the Baltic Sea. Oh, the irony. So anyways, I like that shit is fascinating. This is really cool and I want one. Obviously it'll be a while. Can I show you a piece of good news? This is really cool. I liked this story. Dutch students devise carbon-eating electric vehicle. You seen this? This guy right here, isn't that cool? It has a filter on it that it's electric, but it also consumes carbon as it's driving around. The sporty all-electric car from the Netherlands resembles a BMW coupe, but it's unique. It captures more carbon than it emits. Our end goal is to create a more sustainable future, says Jens Lahaye. Pretty good with those. Finance manager for TU Ecomotive with Eindhoven University of Technology student team that created the car, called ZEM for Zero Emissions Mobility. The two-seater houses a Cleantron lithium-ion battery pack, and most of its parts are 3D printed from recycled plastics. The target is to minimize carbon dioxide emitted during the car's full lifespan. That's cool. See, every morning somebody's waking up trying to do some good. Just saying. Throwing that out there. All right. Hold on, this guy gets shrunk down like crazy while I was showing you other stories. Why the fuck is Matt Gaetz in here? Why is it recommending this cretin? Prosecutors say Matt Gaetz' father was an extortion victim after all. Yeah, they offered help. They wanted money from your dad to help make your problems go away. It doesn't mean that they were blackmailing you. It doesn't mean the information, when you're blackmailed, a lot of the blackmail information is true. Not pro-blackmail, but come on. Wait to watch it. What? My Son Hunter is not the Hunter Biden movie we need or the one we deserve. The Breitbart film is an amateurish, often batshit satire, come thriller, come melodrama, come propaganda, or which switches between modes and the unexpected. With the unexpectedness of a surrealist cut-up. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna cover that tonight. So. Unfortunately, I shared a 2002 InfoWars video on Thursday in which Alex Jones rants about secret societies, corrupt empires, and government overlords supposedly wanting worldwide rule in a cashless society, total and complete tyranny. He's supposed to be a Florida man and play alongside Jimba. Okay, I don't know what about this. Yeah, there we go. Weep. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody on chat. There you go. Yeah, this was a story this morning, too. Russian army is losing a battalion every single day right now. Every day. Since the push began, they've lost a battalion a day. Not since World War II. Has there been that much troop loss on the battlefield someplace? So let me see if I can bring this up. The number, for example, let's see if I can. The current number of Russian dead that they admit is 44,050. It was 54,050. It was 51,000 like a week ago. And that's just dead. That's not captured. So that's another thing entirely. Let's see, one second. Okay, 136. I'm gonna. One second. Try to find something that isn't. This is kind of weird. I want to show you this real quick. This is related to the sort of current state of. I gotta see if I can. Maybe I could download this. It'd be easier to save. Yeah. Nope. It'll just be an image. I want to see, like, why can't we? Yeah. Oh well. I'll have to figure out how to do that later. But so this is showing something. This is Putin arriving at this summit. He does not shake hands with anyone. They offer him flowers and he refuses to take it. He won't step near anybody except outside. He's like keeping everybody away from him. And then only his dudes can touch, like doors for him. It basically, he's got human tasters everywhere he goes. And with good reason. I mean, like considering what's happened to a lot of these rich dudes that used to have power in the Kremlin, one of their well-connected family members at some point might decide they've had enough. Let's see. Yeah, the other thing too is, and I want to point this out. This is, let's see if I can get this in here. So, remember how, like Putin was dicking around and he was like waiting. I want to say it was like the Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan a while back. And so, Putin's having these meetings with folks. And part of this, to be completely frank, part of this is his meeting. So they're coming to meet with him. They all have rooms like this, though. This is not like Russia gets their own room and everybody else has to do it. They all do this. So Turkey has a room, and Iran has a room at this thing, and the flags they'll have one of their flags here, and then they just kind of do this round robin during parts of the day. But the thing that people are pointing out is, and this is why he's not just sitting in his chair, not like during this whole thing, is that they're keeping him waiting. That at each one of these meetings, he's on the outs. So I mean, I find this particularly fascinating. Hold on, I'm going to open my chat again because it closed the window. Oops. Hi, chat room. Hi guys. He's got a gunslinger walk. I think he's just got a bad hip from an assassination that went wrong a while back. Ukraine's going to take down Russia the same way Afghanistan kind of led to the breakup of the Soviet Union, a quagmire you managed to get out of, by the way, without destroying yourselves. Exactly, Cats and Jam. Exactly. By the way, Trump never intended to leave Afghanistan because this dude wanted us to be busy there, fucking around, wasting money, wasting our soldiers' lives in Afghanistan the way they did forever, so that when they attack Ukraine, NATO would be on its heels, America would be, financially incapable of helping Ukraine. That was the plan. And when Trump said, he waved the white flag, he told her, you're going to wave the white flag. This was his generals telling him this about Germany, and he was saying it effectively to Putin as a positive. Yeah, Putin used to make everybody wait, and now look at him all fidgety. There's my guy. Hi, my guy. How you doing, my guy? That's the president of Kyrgyzstan. Yeah, let's see. Hold on one second. I want to find that there's this great picture of Putin at this most recent gathering. I want to see if I can find it for you guys. Where they're all, he's meeting with Modi and all these guys. Now, look, you see, you guys see Putin in this picture? That's Erdogan. It's a bunch of these guys sitting around. They're all snacking and eating, which is weird because they're having this round table at like a finger foods thing, but look how short the tables are and where they are. So it's like socially awkward to reach out and get some food. It's, just odd. Anybody see Putin in this one? Anybody? There he is. There he is, sitting in the middle of the couch like a middle manager. And honestly, the irony is that Turkey, that they all seem to be holding court with Erdogan, which is weird. Turkey is experiencing 80% inflation right now, which is effectively, and they're saying it's going to 100%. Effectively, it's because their currency has already collapsed. In Turkey, there are two trade currencies. Above the table, it's U.S. dollars and euros, and mostly U.S. dollars if they can get them. And below the table, it's Russia. They like the black market's in rubles for a bunch of shit because they're trying to facilitate that. That won't last long, by the way. It's not how you run things. Aren't low tables a Middle Eastern tradition? Sort of, but this is a Central Asian gathering, and none of these dudes. Iran is there or whatever. Maybe this was put on by the Iranians or something like that. But a mix of low tables, traditional low tables, and high Western couches is fucking weird. Also, notice the giant globe over in the corner. I guess they couldn't spring for the glowing orb from Saudi Arabia. Yeah, look at him. Like he's sitting there like an uncle nobody's talking to. Hey, it's crudité. That's right. Look at his hands. This is not a man in a power position. None of them really are because they're all kind of fucked, but everybody's covering their penis. It's not a power move. Not very alpha, right? He's got his, like I've always joked that there's that version of how men stand in the presence of another man doing like power. A lot of these guys will be like around their president like this, like, if they're in the cabinet, they'll be like, "It's your penis, sir. I'm just here to support it. I don't have a penis." Me? No penis at all, sir. And then there's, "I have a penis if you need one, sir. I won't use it, without your permission, but specifically, my penis is present in the room. If you need a penis, I'm here." And then there's, "All penis, sir. You take it and you like it." This is like these are the three military stances and stuff. You know what I mean? Like you can tell, like, yeah, there's this kind of like, "Yes, sir. Penis is ready, sir." And then there's this like, "Well, it's not quite ready, sir, but if you need one, I could probably get it up and going in short order." And then there's like, "No penis here, sir. You're the only penis here." Nope. And if they look down, it's even worse. Like, "I don't know where my penis went. It was around here a moment ago. Now it's gone." I decided, were we supposed to bring our penis? I don't realize. Like, that's basically the history of military stances in a nutshell. Yes, that's Lukashenko. Yes, it is. And it right there. I think so. He looks like he's got hat head, like he was just wearing a cowboy hat. Or maybe it's just a massive comb over. But yeah, this is my rifle. This is my gun. This is for, yeah. "I've got a girl and I've got a gun. One is for fighting. The other one's just for fun. One is for fighting. The other one's just for fun. Oh!" All right, sorry. It's a Newgrass revival song, which I love. Hi. Yes, Talk Soup Stylings. That's how we do it. It's a massive Trump over, you think? Yeah, Full Metal Penis. I should probably blow that out into a, no pun intended, blow that out into a stand-up bit, but that's true. So, anyways, let's scroll down through here. There's another shot too, and there's some Russians got captured up. Yeah, so here's Erdogan and Putin, and they're very close. He basically sees Erdogan as his only window into NATO because Turkey's a NATO country. He figures if he's not making any ground with Germany at all, but he feels like he can slice off Turkey. The problem is Turkey is not necessary in any way to NATO. So, just saying. HAL Sparks rest and flappers. Oh, reset. Sorry. Yes. I'm definitely resetting. You're watching HAL Sparks Mornings Mega Worldwide. Thank you for reminding me, by the way. Like and subscribe. Give a thumbs up. If you're on Twitch, subscribe. What's wrong with you? If you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you a dime. If you're on Facebook, use stars. That's one of the ways you can support the show. You can also become a member of the page. You can follow the page on Facebook if you're watching there. Hi. If you're a real person, obviously. And then, of course, don't forget, go to infotainmentwars.com and subscribe on our YouTube channel. We just hit 40K. All right. How can we see Satan again soon? Which one? There seems to be... See, I think he's got multiple fingers on the earth. I think that's how it... Oh, and Patreon. Yes. Patreon.com/HalSparks. You can become an annual patron on there as a birthday gift to me at any level. And at any level that you join on Patreon, you can bring yourself and a guest to any of my live stand-up shows in your area. And hopefully to come, the same will be true of Nerd Halen gigs. But at the, most of it applies to just my personal gigs because I'm not going to take any money away from other people I might be performing with. There you go. So there you go. I'm not real. I'm a massive atoms in a parallel universe. Aren't we all? And yet not. Saha. All right. Yeah, so there's Modi, blah, blah, blah. What's this? It says it's treason for a president to allow Putin to retake Alaska like he retook Crimea. Assume Putin decides to retake Alaska the way he retook Crimea. Assume further that a president allows him to do it because he believed that Russia has a legitimate claim to its original territory. That would be terrible, but would it be impeachable? Not under the text of the Constitution. It would, of course, be different if he did it because he was paid or extorted. Framers of the Constitution did not provide an impeachment remedy for an incompetent, nasty, even tyrannical president unless he committed a designated crime. Look, giving away U.S. territory where U.S. citizens live to a foreign country, that's just garbage. Like that, of course, that's a crime, fucko. Now, Trump is the first president in modern history in the last, I think, 120 years to give territory to Mexico. He built his wall through private property, and some of it was that ended up on the Mexican side of the wall was U.S. territory. It was privately owned U.S. territory by American citizens. I am not a fluke of the universe. Nope. Russian terrorists turned school into an ammo warehouse. Yeah, we know this. Okay. There we go. This is the mass grave site that they just discovered in outside of Kharkiv. Yeah. There were 19 Ukrainian soldiers the Russians had tortured and murdered in one pit. And then there were a myriad of citizens that are being found. Hi. Hello. I'm fine. Russia, for the time being, responds with restraint to Ukrainian strikes on infrastructure and terrorist attacks. No, they're not responding with restraint. They don't have the capacity to strike back. Phil's going to be on tomorrow in the second hour of the radio show. I want to see if I can find this. Hold on. Okay, Sharif. There you go. There's him. Was this rumors motorcade armored vehicle was attacked? An ambulance. Oh, rumors that Putin's motorcade of armored vehicles was attacked. An ambulance blocked the lead car while another vehicle drove around the motorcade and dropped an explosive on the vehicle carrying Putin. All information surrounding the unsuccessful attack has been classified. Really? Russia's Nekotvika near border with Ukraine. Military barracks are burning because they've been smoking again. Holy shit. Yeah, this is... I want to find that. Yeah, here it is. There he is. Burp, burp. There's Erdogan. He's, look, right over Erdogan's shoulder. And they're and this is the Pakistani PM? I forget who this guy is. Yeah, Pakistani prime minister. He's getting all the attention. Look who's standing over here like fourth in line to talk to him. Also, Pakistan has nukes, but if I was them, much like Russia, you wouldn't dare fire one for fear it would just blow up in its cylinder. Yeah, so he's just hanging around. Let's see, Russian Federation, European Union production, 1990 to 2020, right? 50 produced more natural gas than Russia exported, but then climate activists, some of which were funded by Putin, demanded an end to natural gas production. By 2020, Russia exported nearly 3 times more natural gas than Europe produced. That's actually true, by the way. Some of the climate movements on the planet, especially when we move to natural gas, the push against fracking and natural gas was funded in large part because the United States, both with the shale oil revolution and natural gas that we were finding, was going to overtake the need for Russian oil and gas. And since it was their only, it's their only sale point, they talked everyone out of doing it. And the irony is that oil and gas production through the United States and the EU companies that do it, especially natural gas production, while it is rife with problems and it's always going to be an issue, you're going to always have a problem with mining, period. And that's why you have to regulate the shit out of it. That we do it cleaner than they do it. While there's no such thing as clean coal, for example, the extraction process that the US does and European countries do is way more efficient, cleaner, more environmentally friendly, more protective than the Russians will ever be. And that's how they can sell it so cheap, is because they don't bother with that shit. You just clipped Hal's military penis stance talk. I think Hal. Oh, thanks. No problem, Sarah. So, yeah, so the environmental movement has been hijacked in some ways by the Russians and others as a way of sort of stymieing financial growth by other countries while they leap ahead. Just saying for the record. Doesn't mean, that climate change doubters, what they're selling has any merit whatsoever. But the idea that it's better if we don't, the natural gas was a transitory fuel, for example, away from coal. And as we started moving towards that, our carbon emissions went down because we were doing natural gas. But the push against natural gas entirely and to try to shut it down, a lot of the fracking, the rumors about fracking and its damages were exaggerated intentionally, while they have to be mitigated and you have to do the work to make sure that they aren't damaging. The damage was exaggerated. It's certainly, we know natural gas is way less damaging to the environment than coal is, for example. And so they exaggerated the natural gas damage in a way to control the market. So this is actually true. Again, yes, natural gas still creates pollution, but it creates less pollution than coal. And the way the US and the EU extract it is far better and more environmentally conscious than the way the Russians do it. So the stuff we would sell on the market and having outsized market impact from the United States and the EU would be better than Russia having all that control, because they don't give a fuck. For the record. Thousands of American voters agree that Vladimir Putin is a better leader than you. Put that in 100 pipes of smoke it. You fraud. DV's, yeah. Who is the better? I'm going to get the self-selecting thing. So, again, who's a better leader? Please pick one and retweet Joe Biden versus Vladimir Putin. Yeah, if you want rape squads traipsing against a neighboring country, that's how you would feel. Oh, thanks, Di. Yeah, we got to 40K. We're heading towards 50. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, just hang in there. Right. Come along with us. Join us, won't you? Yeah. The people who think that Vladimir Putin is a better leader than Joe Biden believe it because they want more of this. That includes Jimmy Dore. That includes Kurt Metzger. That includes Aaron Mate. That includes all these fucking Russia apologists. And we're like, well, they're Nazis. They kind of had it coming, and you're the kid of a Nazi, or you're the cousin of a Nazi, or the brother of a Nazi, or the sister of a Nazi. And yeah, and then this is fucking hilarious. So, how do you let floods wipe out entire villages? Well, it's a funny story. First, the important thing is not giving a shit. Secondly, the former colonial powers of Europe are accustomed to living at the expense of others and still cannot get rid of this paradigm in their politics. Yes, we're the colonists. NATO should be ashamed. Erdogan, who oppresses Kurds and buys weapons from Russia, sitting with Aliyev, who's oppressing Armenia, Putin and Lukashenko, who are oppressing Ukraine, and Raisi, who's oppressing Kurds in the Middle East. Why is that? Why should NATO be ashamed of the primary? You mean we are like Turkey hanging out with them? Yeah. What the fuck? In a speech where Putin called the collapse of the USSR a major geopolitical disaster, he also said the civilizing mission of the Russian nation in Eurasia must continue. V. Vereshchagin captured the encounter of Samarkand with Russia's mission civil trees this way. No surprise, Putin killed civilians. He killed 200,000 in Chechnya and 500,000 in Syria. Yeah, Grozny, Syria, Ukraine. But I'm sure, you know what, it's like Trump. In 2 weeks, they're going to start building schools. Let's see, surge ahead of European period weight average household electricity price. I see, this is the cost of electricity. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing, if that's your value system. What is this one? Russian propaganda TG channels not only started to call Russian Kharkiv defeat a catastrophe, but some also called Putin an idiot, used the slur pinya to call him, and regret that Putin was not stopped in 2008. I would not say this is a sign of immediate revolt, but it is tectonic. One of two. This week, a group of council deputies in Petersburg, yeah, we saw this, called to impeach Putin for high treason amid the war. It's a naive step, but a year ago it was unthinkable. This shows how weak is Russia when it collapses. It will come as a surprise and take weeks like 1917 and 91. He's right. One of the things that I think Putin was probably helping fund 9/11. I wouldn't rule it out. He certainly Putin certainly funded the conspiracy channels around 9/11. Just for the record. Yeah, these guys are yeah, 310 commentaire. Yeah, we are preparing for Russia to collapse should be part of the conversation right now. Because, you know, thanks for Russian Brexit through. Right. U.S.-backed imported Gulam with... I see. Yeah, these guys. Yeah, this is part of the conversation that's happening over there as well, is that China had an opportunity to I don't know if we're gonna ever find. Are we gonna find a picture of Putin and Xi at this thing that's making the rounds? Putin's $1 billion Sochi mansion is within HIMARS range of Crimea, though I doubt Zelensky has realized that yet. It's true. I don't think it's out of the question. I mean, the thing is, if you bombed Putin's house in Sochi, it's not an official building. It's, right? It's his, how's a guy worth, who makes $140,000 a year US afford a place that big? Right? So, I mean, can he really complain if it gets blown up? I don't know this house. What's your thoughts on 9/11 was an inside job? But nonsense. It's a rabbit hole I went down a long time ago. Nonsense. Okay, so who's there? Crimea. Crimea who? Crimea River. Jesus. President Putin with Mr. Bean. Yeah, there's a lot of Modi on here. And there he is with the Sayed Raisi from Iran. Mostly this is about India, although, like I said, and this is largely because of the oil they're taking. Is he having an attack? Is that what they're supposedly showing with this picture? Oh, this is the dude who was telling everybody that, at the prison that you can join and don't ever think you're going to be able to retreat, though. You get 2 grenades, one for you and one for them when you get captured. Convicted felon Prigozhin, a founder of Wagner Nazi group and closest Putin's friend, who's recruiting rapists, murderers, and even cannibals to commit crimes against humanity in Ukraine, is a hero in Russia twice. After that, we 100% know that Russia is a criminal syndicate. Yeah, this is the dude who we saw that speech from that guy. Recruiting prisoners. Notice how Trump's never saying, like, they're sending murderers, they're sending rapists to Ukraine, and some of them, I assure you, are great things. Okay, what is this? Exclusive handwritten instruction from Putin to Zakharova ahead of planned press conference. Things that will make America part of the conflict. February, intelligence, artillery, tanks, HIMARS. September, long-range missiles. All right. What's that one? Municipal debt. Oh, that's right. That's the proposal from them. Hold on. I want to find that. There's an article about, let's see. I want to say it's in Bloomberg. Maybe. Might be WAPO, but yeah. So after all this back and forth about China and Russia are in it together, they have an unlimited relationship, right? That's what we heard. We are the U.S. backing Ukraine, and the sanctions on Russia are driving Russia into the open waiting arms of China, oh shit. Not so much. So earlier this year, before the invasion, I think, or shortly thereafter, but pretty early, and then again, I think they said it in May. Russia and China talked about their limitless friendship. Their limitless friendship. Well, apparently, there are some limits. Apparently there are indeed, yes, to quote Anna Kasparian, nothing. They're getting nothing. Nothing. She gives Putin nothing on energy. This is the elements by, okay. So, where we got it? She's Russian jewels. So Russia's position with its shrinking pool of oil and gas customers has never been weaker, and it shows. When President Vladimir Putin met his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping on Thursday for their first encounter since the invasion of Ukraine, he might have hoped for something, anything, an infrastructure investment, perhaps a pipeline agreement. No such luck. He's a friend in need. He's a friend in need. Putin's forces in Ukraine have just suffered perhaps the biggest strategic defeat to date. Energy revenues propping up the regime are declining, and the finance industry is cutting back. She kept the no limits friendship ticking over, but there were few numbers and even fewer specifics. It's an asymmetric relationship that's only getting more one-sided. The pattern is becoming set. Beijing snaps up cheap hydrocarbons. The Sakhalin 2 LNG export plant, for example, has just sold shipments at nearly half the current spot price. Tell me again how the sanctions aren't working. Tell me again how Russia is just getting through. I mean, it's nothing. It's nothing. Russia's getting fine. They're getting through this. Nothing. Nothing. They're not getting anything out of it. Nearly half the current spot price. China is dicking them down over price. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, they are fucking with them. All right. The pattern is becoming set. Beijing snaps. Okay. But sticks to its commitment to diversify supply and steers clear of Western red lines. There was no hint on Thursday that would change. Even the power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline, crucial to Moscow's eastward pivot, and said by Russia to be close, made no progress of note. So close. So close. China left the chat, right? Yeah, China AFK. Our Chinese friends are tough negotiators, Putin said last week. Ouch. Quite. And Beijing can see things about to get worse for Moscow. Ukraine's successful counteroffensive has not only strengthened European resolve heading into winter, but has left Moscow facing manpower and material shortfalls that require further spending. They don't fucking have it. There are tightening sanctions that will leave Russia with even fewer options, plus the possibility of a Group of 7 backed oil price cap. That's coming for sure. It's highly unlikely Russia will sell to those who sign up, but the plan will bring down the starting point for discussions. As my colleague Julian Lee has argued here, India, seizing opportunities since the war began, has reportedly been offered oil at steeper markdowns to stay out of the cap, for instance, something the Kremlin denies. So one of the reasons why Putin is kissing Modi's ass right now is to try and get India to push back against the oil cap if they end up selling to them. So they've been offering it at lower than the cap. You don't have to sign up for price cap. We already, our price cap lower. Everything must go, right? That's what they're telling them. Meanwhile, what they want to do is after that period of time, raise it up. They're going to have to raise it above the cap if they have any chance of keeping their refineries open, because if you shut the taps, the lines explode and they don't have the technology to replace. Like once oil production is like Jim Carrey, aka Harry Christmas, trying to peeing in the truck in Dumb and Dumber. I can't stop. When I stop, it stings. That's what it is. Yes. Pumping oil is like peeing into beer bottles in a dog decorated van. It's a shaggin' wagon. If you stop, it stings. Finally, there is the reality of a cooling global appetite in the face of COVID-19 lockdowns in China and sputtering wealthy economies. China faces its biggest annual drop in oil demand in more than 3 decades. Hard times. Yeah. What was that about China eating our lunch again? What was it? China was gonna what? China, you what now? You want to see, here's chart of the day. This is from the same thing. New home prices in China. (2020) midway through 2021, nothing above zero. No price going up, and these are injections of funds, the short ones. This is every time China has tried to inject money into the market, intentionally buying houses to prop the price up. This is the real number. This guy right here. These guys. Imagine, because like the American housing market went like up to here, and then it's coming down a little bit. But this is a baseline of 0. Yeah, China has over 300 million people in lockdown as of this week. It's going to get worse, too, if those people even exist. Don't get me started on population. Stimulus efforts are beginning to make a difference in China, where the economy showed signs of recovery in August. With industrial production, retail sales, and fixed asset investment all coming in above expectations, which were total shit. The recovery is still fragile, though. COVID-19 curbs continue ahead of the leadership Congress. And separate data on Friday showed home prices declined for a 12th consecutive month. New home prices in 70 cities, including state-subsidized housing. That's the thing you have to look at right there. Can you imagine, low-cost housing for the homeless? And imagine if you saw a news report in the LA Times or in the Washington Post or any major American newspaper that said the value of homeless shelters provided by the city has gone down. And that will reflect negatively on the economy. Imagine how insane that would be. Just try to state subsidize housing. Do you imagine Section 8 housing in the United States, the bottom falling out of it because of lack of need? What? Low-cost housing is the one thing in American economy that's disappeared over the decades and needs to come back. Agreed, 250. And by the way, it has a lot to do with Chinese investment and foreign investment in the United States real estate market, artificially propping it up. Just saying. We need to have a housing boom in this country. We need to build and build and build and build and build and build and build. We need to drive the price and worth of a house down because it's way overblown for what it is and what it should be. Just saying, especially in major urban centers. Silly. And we need middle-class housing, because when you don't have middle-class housing, what happens is middle-class people who need to be in the city for work end up living in the low-cost housing. They end up pushing people out. If you build low-cost housing, all it does is drive the price of middle-class housing up. You need to build out from the middle. I'm serious. Because when you have what would effectively be middle-class people living in, borderline Skid Row level apartments, because that's the only one they can afford, that's the problem. You cannot build with housing especially, you can't build houses for the homeless to help the housing problem. It doesn't work that way. You have to build shelters for the homeless, and you have to build out the middle class size houses like crazy. Apartment buildings, that kind of stuff. Yeah, you got to build out the love handles. It's exactly right. It's the only way it works. You don't even have to like it. It's just true. That's how it has to happen. Oh, look at that. 666 likes. Good time to reset. You're watching HAL Sparks Mornings Mega Worldwide. Support the show with a $6.66 super chat if you're watching this now or later. There's a super thanks thing below if you watch the show later. If you're watching on YouTube, it's like below me somewhere. It's like right there. It's like a little heart with a plus in it. You can, or something, you can help it later. Talking to the future now. Reach out into the future. Back to the future. Marty, the Libyans. All right. So today's top story, we talked about that. Germany seized the local Rosneft place. JP Morgan Chase and ICBC Standard Bank PLC are cutting back on financing to China's troubled metals trade, adding pressure to a sector already hit hard by a struggling economy. Like this, look at this. Like, even with the shit that we're talking about, like this whole, like, we just read like, they're making some, things were better than normal or whatever. This is the metals trade in here. This is stuff that's gonna be made and gonna be sold. And they're not even going to be able to get financing because there's nothing to buy the stuff they make with the metal. Did Hal go over the MTG woman kicking? Yes, I did. I did, Jillian, earlier on. Time travel. I've definitely broken the code. They're ticketing the homeless in Louisville for camping in the city. You only get a ticket if you won't take help. Again, there's not one problem that creates homelessness. There are a myriad. And the people who take the most advantage of, say, city camping are the people most capable of doing something else. And they take resources and away from other people, not the least of which is one of the only reasons we have sidewalks anymore is for people with wheelchairs. It really is. If people with disabilities need to go anywhere close by, they're the ones that need sidewalks. And campers specifically eat that sidewalk. It's not good. You could solve the homeless problem and without like capitulating to homelessness. La Nina looks set to last for a third year. Another year of the weather pattern means the world is hurtling towards $1 trillion in disaster damages by 2023. This is also a big factor in the weather and droughts and stuff that we've seen. This is about every 20 years, we have a La Nina. And, we have a La Nina regularly, but every 20 years, we have a 3-year La Nina. Almost like clockwork. The last one was in 98, 99, and 2000. And the one before that was in 77, 8, 9. How want to jail them or shame them for deciding to be houseless? No, you don't decide to be houseless. And I do not want to jail them or shame them for deciding to be houseless. I'm just saying you can't, if you have resources or the ability to live in a place because you're capable, taking resources from someone who is mentally ill, drug addicted, or finds themselves on the street because they fall through the cracks. I have no sympathy for people who jump into the crack and swim around, especially when we're trying to help people out of the crack in the first place. That's my issue. A lot of the campers, what we do effectively have is a rise, especially in the Venice area in Los Angeles and in some areas of downtown. You have what I would call drug tourists. No one wakes up one day and decides, I'm going to be homeless today. Agreed. But campers aren't necessarily homeless. They've decided to make their home. What's in the crack? Fentanyl these days, sadly enough. Right. So, again, there are multiple reasons, and the whole point is to not have people be homeless. For the record, our goal, we can all agree, we don't want people to be homeless. Yeah. I'm not pro-druggy, but I am anti-300,000 homeless vets. Agreed. Which is why I voted for Obama and the program that they set up for homeless vets. Right now, there are, according to the VA, the VHA, the Homeless Programs Office at the Veterans Health Administration, there are 37,252 homeless vets. Not, just for the record, not 300,000. There are 32,000. And that is manageable. We are absolutely making progress with homeless vets, and that is manageable. In a large part, the 32,000 that, the fluctuating group, that's like about 10,000 of that is probably a soft number, meaning people coming in and out of it. So the idea is to give them a toehold so that they can get out permanently. And then others are, it's related to drug addiction and physical disability due to either what happened to them on the battlefield or chemicals they were exposed to or their own drug use or just life choices that ended up there, which, but for the grace of God go I. So therefore, no judgment, but that's one of the many factors that could lead them to being there. And those people are, that's going to be the struggle. So if you can shave off that 10,000 so that they never have to fall below that, where you set up a program like the Obama administration did, that if you're in the VA and you ever find yourself within the window of, you might lose your home or something, you have a recourse. The VHA will help you so that you don't have to go there. If you find yourself on the edge of it, and that is told, and sort of part of the culture of being a vet, that there's no shame in this, that you guys have been through a lot, and you may find at some point that you are self-medicating with drugs or alcohol, or you may find that you're, a concussion that you may have gotten on the battlefield is affecting your mental well-being. And it early on, when it starts to not feel right, reach out to somebody so that the steps can be taken to help you so that you never fall into the cracks. Yeah. If we funded the VA well, veteran houselessness would decrease significantly. We do fund the VA fairly well, and we have a lot of veterans in this country. So there is going to be, because human beings are messy people, we're messy beings. Human beings are messy beings. We are there. Not everybody's going to be on board with every solution, and so you've got to constantly moderate the solution for the real problem. You're never going to get rid of, like Jesus said, you're never going to get rid of the poor. That's not the point. The point is, you're always going to be figuring out a new thing that makes people poor or makes them fall through the cracks or what have you. And you're always going to be mitigating it because it will always change. As society moves forward, people, quite frankly, camping on the street was human existence for millennia until buildings came along. Right? So as that happens, we think of, total poverty as the way almost every human lived a couple hundred years ago, like 400 years ago. Right? So the answer to homelessness, the same thing is true of all these societal problems, is constant gardening. It's not like, what's the solution? The solution is a daily activity. Yeah, tending the flock. You have to recognize that there's so many moving parts in human life that you're going to have to answer to. That's why in a functioning society, you set up something like the VA. And then you eventually recognize that, wow, we've got post-Vietnam especially, we've got a homelessness issue that's relatively new to our experience since, the Civil War, essentially. And so we've got to start mitigating that. And there's a lot of factors in that mitigation that are modern, So your solution's going to change with the problem. It has to. So, all right. But yeah, so anyways, the La Nina is 3 years, and a lot of the environmental stuff that we're seeing here, while people are attributing it to climate change, we are not at the point where the temperature has raised right now to a point where the fires that we're seeing are a direct relation to where we're going if we don't mitigate how much carbon is in the environment. We're not there yet. What we're seeing largely is the result of a 3-year La Nina currently. So just for the record, if we don't do something about the amount of carbon in the atmosphere, in the next 10 years, it's just going to be a decade of El Niños and forever till we do something, till we start setting up carbon recapture systems all over the planet and have to fucking terraform the earth back to where it was. Let's see. Do you watch Darman videos? He has videos talking about a lot of things people go through, but in stories. I don't. But how the experts are saying climate change is happening faster than they at first believed. Depends on which experts you're talking to. The IPCC report, you and I went through this a few months ago when it came out, that there are 4 measures within it. Almost all of them are like, it could be, it possibly could be, most of the time. There are like 5, I want to say there's 7 tracks of possibility. We're kind of in the Goldilocks slot of their potentials. We're not best case scenario and by far not worst scenario. We're kind of in the lower middle. But again, this is a long-term thing. The climate emergency is an emergency because you have to solve it now. In the same way that somebody who recognizes that if you keep eating and living the way you are, you're going to have a heart attack. That makes every day its own kind of emergency, if that makes sense. You have to treat it like, most people die of heart disease because they eat shit and don't exercise. So it's not, emergency is the wrong word for it, but it is crucial that you diet and exercise with the idea that you plan on being alive 2 decades from now. Denmark shipping lanes risk being put at the center of a tussle between the U.S. and Europe on one side and Russia on the other. The risk of maritime disaster means it shouldn't be allowed to happen. Okay, oil headed for a third weekly decline as deteriorating global economy stoked demand concerns with a stronger dollar made the fuel more expensive for most buyers. Again, a stronger dollar. Where's Glenn Beck? Right. I'm going to eat shit and die from a heart attack. It's possible. But if you don't want to, you take daily mitigatory steps to protect your health. Does that make sense? Because knowing if your doctor tells you your diet and your exercise are shit and you're eating crap and you're not taking care of yourself, you're headed towards an emergency. And it requires you to take action now and consistently to make sure that doesn't happen. It does not mean I'm going to sit here and watch you have a heart attack. And so fuck it. You got to die of something, because that's what most of the time happens. Most of the time when people are talking about climate, they make it an immediate emergency to try to motivate people to work, motivate people to care. And so they use a lot of doom and gloom scare tactics and make it close, like it's almost here. Well, something that big being almost here is like telling me there's a fucking asteroid headed towards the Earth. Can't do anything about it. It's already out of my hands. It's already fucked up. So who cares? So that's what most people do. The doom sprayers about climate are the ones actually damaging the climate movement. Because if you've seen California forest fires for years and you see another one and you go, it's the second biggest, your reaction is going to be kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, Don't Look Up is I would argue is part of the problem. Because that was something that was literally headed toward there. They could spot it and they knew it specifically, but it was acute. It was very close, right? That's not what this is. And it requires more depth of thought to solve this kind of a problem. But the minute you tell people, well, we're fucked anyways, we're fucked, we're just fucked, then they don't care. Yeah, melancholia, another great example. What you need people to do is recognize this is a long-term threat that we have to take action on right now. We're not there yet, and there's hope. We can turn it around. The problem is everybody's afraid if you talk like that, people are going to take their foot off the gas. Well, the problem is if, or slow down their move towards helping. But the reality is if you doom spray them, they just take their foot off the gas entirely. They just go, well, fuck it. I can't, that again, it's the smoking thing. You got to die of something. That they all move into that mode. It's too late now. Once you get people to believe it's too late, and or that the action has to be so enormous and so quick that they don't see it happening, they're all going to check out. Thanks. I'm glad you guys like my hair today. I'm happy to have it down. It's nice. It's a little warm in here, I have to say. It's a little warm in the basement today. So I got a window right here and it heats up I can touch the curtains on some days here in Vegas and they're hot. Right. Feeling even guiltier? It's not too late, but we do have to move quick on this. No, you have to move consistently. Quickly is not the answer. Constant improvement is the answer. And the idea that we will get there. And again, you have to talk in terms of, I don't give a shit if you don't believe in climate change, you don't want pollution, and we don't want to rely on evil people for our sources of energy. You have to understand that you can't just yell at someone who speaks French and English louder and hope they understand you. You got to learn to speak their language if you want them to understand you. How could join a hair band? I am in a hair band. I am a hair band. I'm on the Brute Squad. You are the Brute Squad. Is that the real Steven Tyler? Thanks. That's very sweet. Let's see. Okay, here. Let me show you again. what I'm talking about. And I'm over time, but I think this is a good conversation to have. Now you want to watch The Princess Bride. I'm glad. How looks to be in the late 30s, early 40s, blessed with genes. Oh, that's very sweet of you to say. I'll be 53 a week from Sunday. And it's and talk about constant gardening. But to take care of yourself. But it's crucial that people understand this. You cannot just scream at people to get them to understand. It won't make a difference. It won't make them move. Will not. So when it comes to climate, speaking in terms of pollution, which is something everyone can grasp, and also brings it into the realm of the solvable. It brings it into your locus of control. The climate fucking hell. Think of like asking somebody to solve for the climate issue on an interpersonal level, even on a societal level. The reality is finding the balance because POTUS, Jimmy Carter was ahead of his time, moving us into climate awareness, hence Reagan and the Hummer. I agree. Yep. Thanks. Jimmy Carter moved us in the right direction and they moved us back. And part of that was like the big three, thinking that America didn't care, when in reality it had more to do with the air than climate at the time. Even with Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, it was, if you'll remember the late 70s, it was about pollution. It was about garbage. It was about the air. You could see it. Right? So this is crucial. And I can't stress this enough. Talking about pollution and the narrow environment that someone actually experiences. Nobody wants to drive through that shit. Is something everyone can grasp. Once you put the conversation on climate, and I know what people are trying to do. They're trying to understand their interactivity with the rest of the world, but what it does is it takes it out of their hands, and they're like, "Well, fuck, like we never stop." Look at what how the Republicans respond to, like, "Well, China and India and all these, like, fuck it, they're not going to do it, and they're going to eat our lunch, and then we won't be here to even mitigate it." That's what they're thinking. You have to put it in terms of, okay, well, what's quality for here in the United States? If we're going to pull fossil fuels out of the ground, we're going to use them. We want to use them as little as possible and only on the things they're necessary for. And anything else we can use something else for that's renewable and doesn't cost us anything and we don't have to get it from someplace else is a good thing. I say this exact same thing. Oh, good, Ian. Yeah. Once you talk about that it's the end times, people stop giving a fuck. Right. Acid rain. Right, James? Our beloved Olivia Newton-John passed away, and I shared a song when she, if you'll recall, when people were sharing stuff on Twitter about her passing, a song called "Silvery Rain," which is on the Physical album, on Let's Get Physical, and it's about acid rain in Australia from pollution elsewhere. That was something people could grasp. And it was the fundamental shift in some of the first stages of the environmental movement that really made a difference as far as pollution and health was around those kind of things. Once you blow it up to where it's an asteroid level, as far as its impact, then people feel like, well, I feel like a dinosaur. What am I going to do? Punch the fucking thing? It's not going to happen. So it is crucial when talking about these things that we need, that if somebody doesn't believe in climate change, the answer to them is national security and pollution. And if somebody does believe in climate change, you got to calm them down and focus on constant improvement and stop them like being anxious about tomorrow being the end times or it's too late, because those folks they're the ones that preach to the choir all the time. They never talk to the other side anyways. They talk to their own friends and people that, are on the same page. And what they do is they demoralize those people to not do anything. People need to see the effects to act on them. I agree to some degree. I mean, there's an element of faith that has been decried a lot around religion especially, but that is required. Again, without hope, there is no long-term plan. And faith is a form of hope. charity is an act of hope, because it means I know I'll have enough. There is no point in trading one starving dead person for another in particular. So you have to believe I have some I can give, and I will have enough for my own, and I will have enough for myself and my children and stuff. And without that, people become uncharitable, which was my experience in China, where it is Darwinistic to say the very least. So you have to give people faith and hope and a belief that there will be a tomorrow for them to actually do any of the mitigatory steps to get to those things, to actually moderate their behavior, do something good. Faith is belief without evidence. Well, faith is belief that the evidence will come later. And belief doesn't have evidence. Belief with evidence is knowledge. And nobody gets credit for having knowledge about something that's already happened. Hindsight is 2020. Big fucking deal. I mean, we don't want a world full of Monday morning quarterbacks because we've all talked ourselves into a corner. And knowledge is often at the cost of belief, followed by hope and action. How the fuck do you learn anything if you don't think, A, that's worth knowing, and that knowing it will make your life better in the end, or in the future, or will help you, or help others? Without that, why would you bother to learn something? Just to fill your brain? People don't do that. So, like Greta Thunberg, bless her heart, her impact on the movement will be at best a zero sum over time, if not a force negative. Because ultimately, when you talk about, you make predictions about the end and you bring them so close and make them so vivid, if they don't pay off, the second they don't, everybody checks out. And that's dangerous when you're trying to work on a long-term problem. Hope that makes sense to people. Hope that resonates in some way. Hope that makes, that you recognize that I'm not trying to talk people out of action. I'm trying to talk people into how to get other people motivated to take that action with you. Unfortunately, the slacktivist era of the Twitterati and others, in many ways, has drives an equal number of people away from the argument you're trying to make as it brings in. That's great, Getter. Yeah. That's, again, voting. If you believe democracy is dead and autocracies are going to win and it's too late, then you're not going to vote. And if you convince other people not to vote with that ideology, you're certainly not going to help fix the problems that are here. So you have to find that hope. You have to find that faith. You have to believe that your children are going to have a tomorrow. Otherwise, you will never convince anyone else to take the daily steps to make the world a better place. You won't. As a matter of fact, you'll talk them out of it. You will create people who go, gotta die of something. Seen it my whole life. Every vegan I have ever met and talked to has, while they've been talking, at least in one conversation a day, made another person, and these are activist vegans, not just people who are just vegan on their own, have made somebody go, I'm going to have a big giant steak. It's a reaction that they have. Just how it works. And you have to recognize that if you're trying to get them closer to, like, hey, did you ever try Meatless Mondays or something like that? Right? You have to know who you're talking to, know who your audience is, and know the change you want. And you got to participate in hope with them. You got to bring them along on this faith ride we're all on. Because, yeah, I got news for you. If a giant asteroid hits the Earth tomorrow, none of us are going to have any say in it at all. So it's out of our hands. So why even fucking think about it? The work of my life day to day, and I'll leave you guys with this. The work of my life day to day is to farm away from myself anything that is out of my control. Stiff arm it so it does not own any of my emotions or my effort, because it's a waste. It's a waste of my heart. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my activity and my physical person. And to only really focus on the things that are within my control. And if you ever take something that's important and inside someone's locus of control, that's around them that they could have an impact on, and push it outside in their belief system, you have contributed to whatever damage it does to them. Oh, Flappers, yes. I've got a Flapper show next week. That's right. Wednesday night, I will be at Flappers doing stand-up at, or actually it's the week after, isn't it? Hold on one second. Now you got me confused. Hold on. 1 second. Oops. Oh yeah. Where was it? Flapper. They have me on the thing because I think it's a week from Wednesday. I think it's after my birthday. Is it not? It's like the 27th, something like that. Pretty sure. Yes, free show for patrons. Absolutely. Whenever it is, I will be there. Whatever it is. Let me look at their calendar to make sure I'm not completely drunk and on liquor. All right, hold on 1 second. Shows. Where's their calendar? Hold on. September tonight. Special events. Get down here, you crazy cat. I think, hold on. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's after. It is the 28th. Yeah. So I was right. Phew. I was drunk and I was full of liquor. Yeah, it's the 28th. It's after Flappers is a week from Wednesday after my birthday. So there you go. There you go. You drink green powders. I'm a fan. It's the same night as Jimmy Dore. Yeah, that's right. So let's see. I like there's so much more to talk about, but I'm going to leave you guys with that. So just consider that. John Gutenfreud was epic. Well done. Thanks, Deborah. Consider that when you're thinking about stuff, that if you doom and gloom too much, you do not help. You are doing the opposite of what you should be doing. That's the problem I have with Greta. That's the problem I have with some of the doom sprayers on all fronts. Talking you out of voting, talking you out of recycling. What the fuck is the point if an asteroid's going to hit us in 2 days anyways? So the minute you move people into gotta die something zone, you failed. Work on it. Fix yourself. And the other thing is vote. Vote.org. Go to iwillvote.org. When's the Hunter video? Tonight. I've got to download it and then it's in a different file format. Yeah. Am I going to be at Vamps anytime soon? Not performing. I'm going to go there tomorrow night, though, to see Todd Kearns. Yep. There you go. Anyways, much love to you guys. I will see you soon. Take care of yourself. See you this afternoon. Okay.